Hello, and welcome to More Intelligent Tomorrow, a wide-ranging exploration of the potential impact of AI on the world around us, as envisioned by the future heroes of the human and machine intelligence revolution. Can extended drone flight time be solved with AI? We'll discuss this and more with George Matus on today's episode. And now, your host, Ben Taylor.
George, I am so excited to have you on this podcast. I really appreciate
Ben?
the time.
Thank
you know, just talking to cool people like yourself. So quick thought I had, I was talking to my 8-year-old the other day. I was telling him I figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up when I was 33. And I think you figured that out a lot sooner. So I'd love to hear your backstory.
Yeah,
So how
for
did
sure.
you go from high school to what you're doing now?
Well, I still am trying to figure out a lot of things, but super grateful for what we've been able to do so far and what I've been able to experience so far. Ever since I was little, I loved to fly. Got into RC planes and helicopters at a young age. Drones started coming out when I was like 14. Fell in love with them and started developing a really deep passion for that technology. Ultimately started building some of my own platforms and different versions of drones. I built this thrust vectoring multi-rotor that could fly up to about 100 miles an hour. Pretty large drone that could fly about 2 hours. And ultimately wanted to see what would be possible with a small drone if it had a really powerful compute platform built in to be able to run, AI and autonomy software on board. And that's kind of how Teal was born. When I was a junior in high school, I was fortunate to find some smarter people than me to support me and help me out. And now we're about 5 years in. We have shipped a couple products and we're working on some cool stuff now for enterprise and defense markets. And I think it's a super exciting time for America and for drones and for AI.
Yeah. Well, you might be, hopefully you're not being too humble. Maybe you are. So when you say you build these drones from scratch, so a drone that flies for 2 hours, you're not buying kits online. Like, explain what this is. You're a full stack drone developer, whatever that means. I think a lot of people on this podcast may not appreciate what are the 10 or 50 steps required for you to pull off a passion project with what you were doing in high school.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm not an expert by degree, right? Didn't go to college. Don't have that formal or official training. So it's all been mostly self-taught. And when I say built drones from scratch when I was in high school, that was, from inception to prototyping to building it out, which included, the 3D modeling and software on the hardware side, the fabrication of all the parts and components, the integration of all the different subsystems, and then on the software side, programming, tuning, getting it flying, and making it as reliable as possible.
So how many drones didn't fly when you were in high school? Did you?
most of them.
So how many times did you hit a wall where you thought, dang it, like this is supposed to work? I imagine that's how we learn, right? You fail 10 times and then the 11th one gives you the new motivation you need.
It's exactly how it goes. Oh my gosh. And when you say hit a wall, so literally, the first time I ever flew an RC plane, it flew into the side of a junior high school right outside my parents' house, and it caught on fire. I was crying. It was terrible. And it still happens today. Like drones, they fly away and sensor malfunctions. One time I had this demo out in the Bay Area, and the night before it was like 4 a.m. back in Salt Lake in the house trying to get it ready. This really big drone, right? So I move away all the furniture in the basement. I couldn't fly outside because it'd be too loud. And I crossed like 2 PWM wires going to the flight controller. And so this big, like 30-pound drone with 40-inch props and weighs just a ton and has a lot of force. It spools up, goes to 100% throttle, and flies into the side of the wall in the basement.
So that's a big enough drone that could do some real damage to yourself, right?
Yeah. They. I don't think a drone has ever killed somebody. But there are those big RC helicopters, 700 sized RC helicopters. Those have killed some people.
So it sounds like you've learned a lot of experience just trying through the years trying this, and I imagine that was the groundwork for you to start Teal. what maybe explain briefly explain the transition where you went from high school to raising capital, because a lot of people that are much older, they really struggle with how do you pitch to VCs, how do you raise money. Even people in their 40s and 50s, they're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think, when I think about that, I always try to stay away and keep away from the, books on how to be a successful founder, and, what the right way is to start a business, and all the life hacks you need to, achieve to be successful. So I tried to do everything in my own way, and I think the biggest thing for me was just being able to talk naturally about what I'm passionate about, and people saw that, and then saw that they could supplement all the things I'm deficient in with other smart people. So like on the business side, I didn't know anything about business, but we were able to get a COO, and he helped shepherd us on that front. Um, and it really just started, like at the beginning of 2015, I was able to find an angel investor that believed in me and gave me a little bit of money to get started. So I started working with some contracted engineers, started building our first prototypes. This was of the small drone with a built-in compute platform. And then like 6 months after that, Ben Lambert from Pelion reached out and wanted to have a conversation. 6 months after that, turned out to be our first seed round of venture funding. And then I think a couple months after that, he introduced the two of us, and we've known each other now for 4.5 years.
Yeah. Like, how old were you when you got your first seed round?
So I was 17, and I had to wait to sign the term sheet until I was 18.
Wow.
It came in a couple of weeks before my birthday, so we had to wait.
So I'm curious, if it had been 6 months before your birthday, would you have needed a guardian to sign for you? Like, would your parents have to?
Yeah, I think we would have figured it out. But yeah,
That's awesome. Let's shift gears and talk about some of the things that you're really excited about. So what are all the things that a drone could do? So whether you're doing it at Teal or just a general view of the market, you have stereo vision, you have LiDAR, you have thermal. What are the sensors and applications? Maybe hit on some of the obvious ones and then talk about the ones that you're excited about that are less obvious. So search and rescue. Maybe that's an obvious one.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it starts with the mission, right? So Teal has a commercial mission and a defense mission. On the commercial front, it's to advance the technology so that it can ultimately be integrated seamlessly into the everyday, into work, into life. For commercial customers, increase efficiency, automation, ROI. On the defense side, it's to enable a hyper-enabled operator, increase survivability and lethality, and enhance the potential of mission success for warfighters. I think in every component of those two missions, AI is super beneficial and actually is probably required.
Yeah. So the fascinating thing about drones, when you think about a security system network, the attention is fixed. So if I plant all these camera poles on my street, that's great. But if there's something interesting happening over here, I can't move a camera. Where with a drone or a drone network, you can really be adaptive to where the attention needs to go.
Exactly. Totally dynamic, especially if you have like a drone in a box solution where you have drones just charged up and ready to go in different locations, either for security or for monitoring or public safety. They can launch up at a moment's notice, and with the right autonomy and AI software on board, they can go perform really advanced missions faster than any other person or technology can today.
So I want to switch gears to a darker topic. And I don't know if you remember the shooting that happened in Vegas. It was a couple years ago. Do you remember the concert? And I think police were praised for responding in 10 minutes, which is fast. Like, for them to take that individual out in 10 minutes, I don't know if I could do that. Like that's impressive for humans. If a company had the right resources and the right attention focused on that problem, let's say a drone like the drones you guys have access to was on a cell phone tower, how fast could you have responded given it, let's say the nearest cell phone tower's couple hundred feet away. How fast could you have responded?
An order of magnitude faster. So we could probably build something, if the drone is physically close enough, be able to respond and start handling the situation in like 30 seconds.
Because how fast do your drones fly? What's the fastest drone you've built?
Over 100 miles an hour. Our consumer
Okay.
product was about 80, but it didn't have much flight time.
Okay.
Our enterprise and defense drone that we've just finished developing can go up to like 55 miles an hour.
So even that guy was in a hotel room. I don't know how many stories up. So even flying 100 miles an hour, line of sight from a cell phone tower, and then you just deliver a flashbang into the room until cops come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's 30 seconds.
Exactly. And that is something that we're starting to see demand for on the government side. The ability to give technology, AI and drone enabled technology, to the dismounted infantry platoon to be able to take care of active situations like that remotely and quickly.
And do you think that's something where we'll always need a human in the loop, or do you think that'll slowly transition away? Imagine for lethal, you'd want a human in the loop, but what about for non-lethal? Could you see that being automated?
Oh yeah, yeah. For non-lethal, for sure. For lethal, I think AI and autonomy is really good for being able to increase your accuracy and be able to achieve your mission with greater efficiency. But there should definitely be an operator in the loop that like gives the final kill or no kill confirmation for a bad guy.
Yeah. So maybe going back to the sensors, what are the sensors you're the most excited about? I know Elon doesn't like LiDAR. He likes stereo vision. Do you like both? Or is there something like hyperspectral LiDAR that's coming that we don't know about yet? What are the sensors that where you think that's actually really cool?
So Tesla doesn't even use stereo around the entire car. They're able to do everything they do with a single camera paired with data coming from their IMUs and the motion of the car. So you can actually do everything you need with a single vision-based camera. But stereo helps for some other things. So for us, in terms of like a primary payload for imaging and data analysis and all that, it's a high-resolution visible camera and a high-resolution thermal camera to see heat signatures. And between those two, that covers like 90% of what you need from being able to identify and gather the data you need. From an autonomy standpoint, LiDAR has its place, but it doesn't give you the context that vision-based sensors do. So we're also very vision-based. We have cameras for obstacle avoidance. We have a camera for something called visual inertial odometry, which localizes the location of the drone and allows it to hold its position without GPS and be able to navigate without GPS. I think there will be some specific niche use cases that require like hyperspectral cameras. Agriculture is a good example of that. LiDAR, I don't think we're actually going to use in the near term. I don't think we need it.
One question that I had was, how do you deal with flight time and battery technology? Because if I have a drone that's going to go put out a fire, or do something meaningful, search and rescue mission in the mountains, I need a drone that can handle turbulence, mountain wind conditions. It needs to be able to carry a payload. How do you solve this issue?
So if we work at it backwards, AI is actually going to be what solves it. And what I mean by that is battery technology will get better, propulsion systems will get more efficient, drones will fly longer per battery. But there's some limitation, right? You'll never have a drone that can be 100% efficient and fly indefinitely, probably. And so what you do then is you just have the right AI system and autonomy stack to be able to have multiple drones collaborate. And when one battery dies, the other drone goes in to fill in and pick up from the exact same spot that the last drone was at, because they're collaborating, they know what's happening, and they're all functioning as intelligent, cooperative agents. Right now, we're like up to 50 minutes of flight time per small drone, and this is a prototype of our latest generation model we call the Golden Eagle. So that's a pretty good amount of flight time, gives you a lot of range. But as long as you have multiple drones that can fill in for each other, or like relay points where you have multiple drones spaced several miles apart, they can cover large amounts of area and perform a wide variety of missions.
Yeah. So I hadn't thought of the drone recycle. So when we talk about attention focus, you could actually have drones kind of recycling in. What type of battery technology do you use? Because these aren't just lithium-ion battery packs from Home Depot, right? Like it's something very different.
Yeah, they're very similar in the type of cells that Tesla uses. So it's a version of lithium ion, really high energy density, reasonable discharge rates for what we need. I'm excited to see what Tesla announces at their battery day on September 15th. It's a new type of battery that has a different type of manufacturing process that allows it to be cycled, I think, 6,000 times or something crazy like that, while also increasing energy density by 30%, which is significant. And I think it'll probably take another 5 to 10 years for another big breakthrough to happen on the battery side.
Yeah. This is maybe a stupid thought or question, but I was just imagining some flying, floating blimp mothership where you have these drones that are doing inductive charging on the belly in like 30 seconds, then popping back off. Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard, or is inductive charging in the sky something that could ever happen?
Jeff Bezos thinks that is genius, and he has patented it.
Oh, dang it!
Not even joking. It's a blimp in the sky that has drones that deploy and then come back to charge.
Oh, and they just charge on the blimp?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
big solar panels. Yeah.
So I thought it was a dumb idea. So apparently dumb ideas can get patented.
No, there's no dumb idea. It's all just dependent on timing. Any idea is a good idea if the time is right.
Yeah.
And the time is right for that right now.
So, George, I'll have people reach out to me sometimes where they're looking for AI projects for their research. What types of projects would help your company, or are you guys hiring right now? What types of skill sets are you looking for when it comes to AI?
It's a good question. So right now we are building out our AI and autonomy platform on top of our existing foundational drone technology. And we have a really diverse set of team members that come both from, traditional, college-based degree and experience, and then we have people that never went to college, including myself. So that's no requirement for us, and we would love to get to know and talk to as many people as we can. If they're passionate about AI and they have the right attitude about it, I think they'd be super interesting to talk with.
Are there any projects or capabilities that would help get more attention, whether they're doing video inference, or what are some of the hot things right now that might, if they have an option to work on it this weekend, it might get more attention when they come through the application process?
I think anything vision-based is really relevant to what we're doing right now. It'll expand over time, but I think vision is where our focus is right now.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks, George, so much. I love talking to you.
Likewise, Ben.
The stuff you guys are working on is the future, and I think that's really exciting. I wish there was a way to like throw more fuel on that fire, because I want to see the future come. I want to see it come. I want a drone like the stuff you guys are making to help me find a horny toad in the forest. Yeah.
So, and on that topic, not to go on another tangent, but the government is literally now funding companies to be able to develop AI and autonomy systems that can do just that, where they want to be able to use that technology within the government, but they also want it to be able to be used in commercial markets. And it's the ability to, as a consumer or a customer, do whatever you want with the platform. Deploy your own, image or model of what you want the drone to do or identify, and it'll be able to do that. So we're like right there. We're around the corner.